they recording right now? Oh, okay. It says they're recording now.
Okay.
Hello, dig for bones.
I don't think anyone knows that I'm the one who cut off your toes and put them in the drawer with the sock.
Hello, and welcome to the Least Haunted Podcast, a place for science, skepticism, humor, and anthropology meet to discuss all things spooky, haunting, supernatural, and sometimes just the plain ridiculous. I'm your host, Cody Franks, and joining me, as almost always, is a master of the moon mongoose's mouthful of many macaroons, maddening measly maggots' minds with mighty metaphors for modern midday metaphysical mixtapes.
Garth. Hi, everybody. This is me, Garth. It's so nice to be here in the video form.
In the video, yes.
Welcome to our anniversary episode.
Yeah, 5 years.
5 years.
You see, 5 years ago, this podcast started with a simple dream. To tell the world about a fucked up little talking mongoose in a house.
Yeah, that was, I remember when you pitched me, oh, you want to work on this? I want to do a show called The Least Haunted. It'll be about, like, paranormal stuff. And the reason I want to do it is so I can tell this story about a mongoose.
Yes.
So, like, ever since the first episode, we've been trying to think of other topics. But the whole point of doing it was the mongoose.
Well, that's kind of what set the whole
It's
tone.
the jumping off point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because that was one famous paranormal ridiculous thing that I knew about that was surely a hoax.
Well, and it was sort of it was nice because it was my favorite episode of ours. We do a lot of different kinds, but like when we have like an actual story to go through.
Yeah.
And that one was a great one, and they have made a movie about it, and so we're being very timely.
Yeah.
And
it only came out what, like 4 years ago?
2 years ago. I think it was 2023. So we probably should say we have a Discord.
Yes, there's a Discord you can join us on. Patreon. Tumblr. Blue Sky.
We have a Tumblr gnome.
Yeah, we have a tiny little gnome that runs our Tumblr for us. It's amazing.
He's right here.
Off camera. Oh, you're gonna put? Oh, yeah. You can
I can do that. Yeah,
video. I gotta stop.
Video, man.
I'm stuck thinking in an audio.
You're
only
not
format.
thinking two-dimensionally, Cody.
Yeah. Okay.
All right. So yeah. Come join us on all of those things, and if you're listening to the audio of this, by all means continue to listen. But if you'd like to see it, we are posting this on YouTube, and you can just go on YouTube and look up Least Haunted Podcast. You'll find us eventually. Once you get past that one video that has all of those hits, get past that and you'll find us.
Yeah. Look for the ghost logo.
This one right
Yeah, when you see that, that's us.
That's us.
And while you're at it, you could listen to our very first episode, which was about Gef the talking mongoose.
I actually listened to that in preparation for this.
I did.
And I started to run out of time, so I never do this, but I did it on like 1.5 speed. And it was really hard. I can't. Can you listen to audio fast like that?
No.
It's awful.
No.
Yeah. Anyway,
I'm a human being.
I managed to get through it, but it was like, yeah. Then you and I sat down and we watched the entire movie.
Yes.
Nandor, Fodor,
and the talking
mongoose.
Yeah.
And we're gonna do a review of that right now. First off, I went in, I didn't know anything about it ahead of time. I really try to do that with movies.
Yeah.
Like, I don't want to look at reviews or even trailers if I can help it, if I'm interested in the movie. And I knew I'd eventually want to see this because it was about the episode we did.
Yeah.
So I really tried not to, although in the days leading up to us deciding to do this for the anniversary, they were talking about it on the Discord. And
not very favorably.
Not very favorably, which made me even more curious. But I tried not to read too much of that because I really wanted to go in just like, I don't like disliking movies. Like I want to try to at least appreciate something on its own terms or find a gem in it rather than just be like, oh, that fucking sucked. Like, it'd be nicer to...
Yeah.
So that being said, I'll hold off on saying exactly what I thought of it.
Yeah.
But I have several thoughts.
I remember when the buzz about this movie, when it was announced that it was being made and that it was going to come out soon, and seeing the cast list, I'm like, oh, okay.
Simon Pegg.
Pegg, yeah, okay. And then I saw that, spoilers, Christopher Lloyd is Harry Price.
Yeah.
Who we did a whole episode, 2 episodes on Harry Price.
We're just starting this show, but we'll just say now, spoilers. We're going to be talking about, it's a review of what we thought of it, so spoilers.
Yeah.
Yes.
Spoilers for the movie, and I guess for episode 1 of this show in a way.
Yeah, because we'll be talking about how the movie deviated from reality.
Yeah.
It did that a little bit.
Yeah, a bit.
But yeah, Christopher Lloyd, Simon Pegg.
Minnie Driver, who's great. She's
Is she Anne the assistant?
Yeah, and the assistant.
What else have I seen her in? She looked familiar.
She's been around a long time and in a lot of things. But the thing that always stands out, she was in Good Will Hunting.
Oh, okay.
But the thing that always
That's what I was
stands out
thinking
in
of.
my mind is that she provided the English dub voice for Lady Eboshi in Princess Mononoke, which is like one of my favorite movies. And so that's what I always hear her as. And then the other actors in the movie, I guess, are probably more known if you are British. We are not. You gotta, like,
Can you tell we're not British?
But we got to get to the big elephant in the room, or the mongoose.
The mongoose in the room.
The mongoose
Okay.
in the room. So when this movie was announced, it was a lot of buzz, and it was exciting because, the mongoose is going to be played by Neil Gaiman.
Well, the best voice ever. What
And
could
it-
possibly go wrong? This is going to age like fine wine
Yes,
forever.
and you know, in the past year of, I guess when they first announced they were making this was probably 2022. Ish, so we're still kind of in, throes of pandemic, so we need distractions. It's like, I love Neil Gaiman. He's not problematic at all.
He'd be perfect for this. Yeah.
Flash picture of headlines or whatnot.
Yeah.
For those who don't know,
He has been accused by many people over
Credibly.
many years, quite credibly, of sexual assault and all kinds of.
yes,
I mean, I don't even. Yeah, it goes on and on and on.
so much.
Yeah.
So that was.
Well, so knowing that ahead of time, going into it, I was
Yeah.
like, okay, well, I'll just have to kind of move past it. Otherwise, I'll just be like, fucking Neil Gaiman. And then the movie starts with Neil Gaiman doing a
Yes.
voiceover explaining talking animals.
Which is a part of the
Yeah.
movie I, even if it wasn't all the baggage of Neil Gaiman.
In and of itself, it was a weird way to start a movie.
It did not work for me at all.
Yeah.
When one thinks of an animal speaking like a human, one thinks of a bird.
You know what? It reminded me a little bit of Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. Did you
Yeah.
like that movie? Because I'm on the fence about it. Do you remember seeing that?
I do, but not since it came out.
It was okay in parts, but it had a weird pacing, and there would be asides like that
Yeah.
that you'd think would work, but it was just kind of long. And
Well, they're supposed to be the entries from the Hitchhiker's Guide.
they are.
And in this
It
case,
doesn't always translate.
And
but-
as you find in this
yeah.
case later, apparently it is Gef the Mongoose reading a section of a letter that Harry Price writes to Nandor Fodor.
Was that for the movie though? This wasn't real. Like Harry Price didn't actually write that, did he?
I don't think so.
Okay, yeah, I didn't. Okay.
I mean, he
interesting.
could. I don't know, but
Yeah.
it was like a blink and you miss it, because then later when Nandor Fodor is reading a letter from Harry Price that's telling him about the talking mongoose and trying to interest him in the case.
I see. I don't know that even works because.
Oh no, it's not the letter. Sorry, it's Harry Price's notes that Nandor is reading on the train
Okay.
when they're going to
See, I
investigate.
thought that they just had Neil Gaiman and they're like, well, do you want to do more than this? Let's have you do the intro. Because he wasn't doing his Gef the Mongoose voice. He was just
Yeah.
speaking like he was reading an audiobook. So
Yeah, and it
I
lists
guess
off
so.
a bunch of talking animal examples from history.
Screaming goats. A lot of like, okay, these are animals that vocalize. They
Yeah.
They sound
and
like humans.
They sound like humans. And the parrots, which is also weird because it couldn't be. That's weird. In the intro, Jeff or Neil Gaiman narrates this thing about talking animals, but he comes up to he starts giving stats from the post 2000s.
Oh,
He's
yeah.
like a talking budgeteer in the year 2007 knew this many, but then later the first half of that intro monologue is being read aloud as Harry Price's notes. So it can't be
Well,
because
it says
then
it says something about the filmmaker's attention to consistency and world building, and what are we to believe is going on in a lot of this movie?
So our introduction to Nandor Fodor is he's being interviewed for like a radio or TV show, probably both.
I think it's
There were
I think
cameras.
it's a TV show.
Yeah.
But
Which doesn't make sense because it's 1937.
Yeah, so it would have been like a film documentary.
Yeah,
if
film
you were
reel.
to film
Newsreel.
an interview that long ago, it must have been a newsreel or some kind of a specialty.
Yeah, I didn't even think about
Thing.
that at the time.
Yeah.
It was 1937, and he is talking, like smoking cigarettes in a dark room.
It should be something that would have happened in like the 50s. It looked like
Yes.
a TV show. It looked
Yeah.
like that era. And basically he's talking to him like, "Oh, do you believe in ghosts?" And Simon Pegg, Nandor Fodor, is like, "Well, I'm interested in what people perceive, and if I perceive something different than you, who's to say? Reality is relative.
Yeah.
Relative is the point." And so you kind of get an idea of Nandor Fodor's stance, that he's open-minded, he's into this stuff, but he's still very scientifically...
Yeah, so the real life Nandor Fodor, he actually worked with Sigmund Freud for a while, and he was really into the psychology of paranormal belief. So he wanted to find this there has to be a psychological aspect to like why certain people experience paranormal things. He thought it was an internalized psychological thing.
Well, and in the movie that bears it out, because that's kind of
Yeah.
what he's saying about the people
And,
on the island.
He also is the person who first came up with the idea that a poltergeist is a physical manifestation of somebody's it's psychic energy of an individual. It's an emotional disturbance that lashes out and creates the thing. Because as in the real world, at one point he kind of eventually says that he thinks that's what Gef could have been. I think he's willing to like extend it. He thought that it was a psychological manifestation, a physical manifestation of a suppressed psychological disturbance in the Mr. What's the family? Irving.
Yeah, the Irvings, yeah.
Yeah. That he was actually creating it. And so it was like a poltergeist, but it was like a physical thing.
Okay,
created.
so the real Nandor Fodor did theorize that it was a poltergeist.
Similar to, yeah, something like a
the way
poltergeist.
Simon Pegg plays the character, he kind of is the stand-in for the skeptic, really.
Yes, yes.
So it seems like the film portrays Nandor Fodor as more of a skeptic than the real one. Would you say that that's true or no? Or is
Yeah.
it just,
Oh,
'cause
yeah.
he's only a skeptic for this particular case, but he would maybe believe in other things? I don't know. I guess the reason I'm asking is I was trying to pin down while watching this exactly who's representing what, as far as like a perspective goes. And throughout the movie, Nandor Fodor seems to be like the most skeptical of all of them. So
Yeah.
I didn't know whether he believed ever in ghosts or he thought it was all manifestations of psychological stuff. They kept it ambiguous in the movie.
Yeah. I'm not entirely sure. But
Yeah,
I mean,
it didn't quite come up in when we did the first episode either, what he believed. And
yeah,
maybe he kept it vague.
yeah, and
Maybe
he had played a part
yeah.
in exposing some fraudulent mediums and stuff like that. So he knew that there were people out there who were taking advantage and would do fraudulent stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Nandor Fodor was born in what is today Ukraine.
Oh, wow.
Western Ukraine, but at the time it was part of Hungary.
Simon Pegg did a good accent. I have to give him props for that.
His accent.
I liked the accent. I don't know if it was accurate, but it was...
No, when he was talking, it reminded me of something, and I actually said that he was doing the exact same voice. Oh, God damn it, what was it?
Well, the answer to that question is actually quite complicated.
The real Nandor Fodor first left Hungary and went to New York City, and then went to England, and then back to New York. So his English that he is speaking is American English, but he's now amongst British people. But he's also, so it's like a Hungarian version or Ukrainian version
that got filtered through America adjusted by the American accent.
And he sounds like Christopher Lambert in the first Highlander movie,
Oh, okay.
who when that movie was made, didn't speak any English. He was French, and so he learned all of his lines phonetically.
Oh my gosh, wow.
They make a joke about like, oh, it's a weird accent. Where are you from? And he goes,
Lots of different places.
and it's like funny because he's immortal, and so he's from lots of places.
That actually works for the story.
But Nandor Fodor, the whole time, all I kept thinking about hearing Simon Pegg was like, dude, it's Christopher Lambert.
Suppose when I look into the corner of the room, I see a man standing there looking back at me.
He suggests, oh, what if I see an old man, you don't see him? Who's to say that I am right and you aren't right, blah, blah, blah,
Yeah,
blah,
like,
blah.
are there ghosts here now? He's like, no,
Yeah.
but I see this man, and I can describe him to you and exactly how he looks. He's got the blue eyes, and he's making little googly faces at me. And they show that, like, he is actually seeing this man doing that.
Yes, it seems like, or he's imagining
Yeah,
it.
he's imagining it.
Yeah.
You know, and the whole thing is the guy's like, but I don't see it, so it's not real. And he goes, but I say he is. And the guy's like, but he's not. But I say he is. And then
Wow,
he,
that's deep, man.
Yeah,
Yep.
deep. And then we get to him like going back to his office house where he's got his live-in.
Yeah, we meet his wife, who turns out to be a secretary because
Yes.
you can't tell who what the relationship is right away.
Yeah.
Pretty funny.
She's gonna read him his mail,
Yeah.
and he's just like really short-tempered. He's like, just 4 sentences or less, please. And she
Just summarize it for me. They
Yeah.
haven't invented the AI thing that does that yet.
Yeah, and then they give us a couple examples of cases that he like passes on to show us. They have
Oh,
to, and it's 3. It's
yes.
specifically 3.
It's got to be 3.
Yeah, right. So it's like, oh, here's one about some kid who's like possessed in Scotland or something like that. He's like, pass.
We're establishing that he's particular and doesn't
Yeah.
just believe any story.
And then someone sends a picture, like there's a photographic evidence. So this is show me. And he looks at it. He goes, oh, does he say? He uses an anachronistic term. He uses fucking, but in a weird way.
Oh, did they not use the word fucking that way back in the 1930s?
I think he actually says, "Are you fucking kidding me?" I
Yeah,
think that's
that
what he
sounds like a
says.
pretty modern
and that's like a
use.
modern usage.
funny.
Yeah,
funny.
but maybe not. I don't know for 1937. No, they said they say it's 37.
It sounds more modern to me than that. But I don't know. I wasn't around back then.
And then she starts reading. Well, she like summarizes something into 4 things. She's like House on Isle of Man, because he says it has to be 4 sentences. She's like House on Isle of Man.
Yeah, she's trying to get it to the floor.
And then she's like, yeah, everybody's seen it or heard it, blah blah blah. And then she goes, last thing, talking mongoose. He goes, what? And then she starts like,
You had me at talking mongoose.
and he's like, give me the letter. He starts reading the letter. He goes, this is from Harry Price. And then we cut to him meeting with Harry Price clandestinely because apparently Nandor is like supposed to be like persona non grata.
Yeah, Harry Price doesn't want to be seen with Nandor.
Yes, because
Harry Price is
the whole.
What surprised me is it's not the they changed the name of the
Yes.
organization.
Yeah, because it's SPR, right? The
Yeah.
Psychical, or P. God damn it. Society for Psychical Research, the International Society for Psychical Research, the IS or IPSR.
The ISPCA.
The London Spiritualists Alliance do not take kindly to your new clinical methods of research.
So yeah,
They changed the name for the movie because that organization still exists. And so,
yeah, we get a whole bunch more backstory. Harry Price explains his visit to the Isle and his dealings with Gef. All the because we start the story halfway through our podcast.
Yes.
You told us all about this in chronological order when we did the
Yeah.
first episode. In this one, we're just starting with Nandor, and now we need to know what happened already
Yeah.
with Harry's visit. So we learn all about that.
Is that when we get our weird Harry Houdini side story?
It is, yeah. So this was the first thing that pissed me off about this movie.
Yeah.
Is that they use a Harry Houdini who was a famous magician and also someone who was rooting out charlatans.
Yes.
Because he really did want to believe in the afterlife, but he knew that
And as a
people were
magician,
faking.
he knew all the tricks, which is
Yeah.
also Harry Price started as a magician originally. That was his.
Yeah,
like,
interesting.
Yeah, but yeah, Houdini knew all the tricks, and so he was exposing people for frauds.
And the story goes, in reality,
Mm-hmm.
that Houdini told his wife, "Hey, I'm about to die. He's on his deathbed. When I get to the other side, I'll do this thing. And if you see that in the world, that means it's from me. And don't tell anybody else.
It's a special phrase.
It's a special phrase, and that will be a proof. We're gonna do it. This is a good chance for an experiment here. You and I should do this too.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah.
And because one of us is gonna live longer than the other, and it would be good to do this. but you gotta not tell anybody else.
Mm-hmm.
So, in the real story, Harry Houdini's wife never hears the phrase.
Yeah,
People
never
ask
hears
her about it, and she doesn't tell anyone what it is, and she never hears it.
Yeah.
Bess confirmed that the message was, in fact, the code which only she and Harry
Never
knew.
happened.
not true.
The opposite, in fact.
Yeah, she never got the code.
Yes. And they would have a
So-
seance every year on his birthday.
What do you think about that?
I think you made that up for this movie. That's what I think.
In the movie, they say that she did hear it.
Yeah, that she goes to a psychic medium
So-
and he tells her the phrase, and so that
Right there, for the purposes of the movie, makes us, as the audience, think, oh, okay, this is a movie where there might be some ambiguity as to whether there are spirits or stuff.
Yeah.
But the fact that they use it by
A very famous
getting a
story.
famous important thing
Yes.
wrong.
Yeah.
Yeah, anyway.
Yeah.
But I mean, that would not be this is not the last time that this movie deviates from history. And
Yes.
so
Yeah.
the further on you get, the more and more this isn't really what happened. And I try to appreciate the movie for what it is and realize this is not a documentary.
It's based on real
It's
events.
based on, but
Yeah.
it's a springboard to tell some other story. So I'd like to get past that. Otherwise, I'll just be pissed through the whole movie.
Yeah. And so, if you haven't seen our first episode or you know nothing about any of this, the long story short, condensed version, Irving family lives on a farm called Cashin's Gap.
Cashin's Gap.
Cashin's Gap, thank you. I think I made the same mistake in our first episode, which is on
Gashin's Cap.
which is on the Isle of Man, and they say that for multiple years now, there has been a talking mongoose that lives in their walls, and everybody in the village supposedly knows about it.
They all believe in it.
They believe in it.
It's like a known thing in this really little
Yeah.
town.
And the family consists of the dad, the mom, and their 13 going on 14-year-old daughter.
Yes.
And yeah.
Who is 17 or 18 in this movie.
In the movie, they age her up. And it makes it kind of weird because you're like, why is this full-grown adult woman still living with her parents but acting like a child?
Yeah, it was a little weird. I mean, the fact that she's living with her parents wouldn't necessarily be out of the ordinary, but her role in it seems to be that of a younger girl.
Yeah.
But she's like as tall as her parents.
We do get to meet the innkeeper, the bartender.
Yeah, we meet the bartender who is also the drunk, who is also the mayor.
Turns out to be the mayor.
Yes.
And I just wanted to bring him up because he is Thoros of Myr in Game of Thrones.
Oh, okay.
And I recognized him. I was like, hey! But even more so
He
than
was
that,
really good. I've never saw Game of Thrones.
But this is not
I
the
like
first time that
actor.
he has acted with Simon Pegg.
Oh.
Where's his name? I wanted to make sure I get his name right. Yeah, Paul K. Or as Morris or Maurice. In the early 2000s, Simon Pegg's first big breakout thing before he made Spaced.
Oh, yeah.
And there's an episode of Spaced where they go to see some avant-garde theater.
I remember this episode. I haven't seen this in like 20 years.
And there's a guy whose name is Hoover. He's an artist called Hoover.
Yeah.
And he's,
was that guy?
And that's Hoover.
Wow.
Because he was part of a comedy duo at the time.
Wow.
And ended up in Spaced. And so years later, here he is with Simon Pegg again.
Nice.
Yeah. And he plays the town drunk who is the mayor and the bartender who has seen Gef out of the corner of his eye. It has a story about seeing Gef.
This is an important scene in the movie. It's getting toward halfway.
Yeah.
I was scrubbing through the movie in preparation for this, and we're just starting to hit the mark where there's some question because Anne is right alongside.
Yeah, Anne's the one that's hearing this story, not
It's just
Nandor.
Anne. It's just Anne talking, and this plants the seed of uncertainty for her that will then grow further. And he basically ends it by saying like, yeah, you may be a skeptic and you just believe what you see. And I have a sad story, but maybe you have a pretty sad world perspective too if you don't believe anything beyond your own sight.
But the piece of evidence he has is that he relates the story of being at his wife's funeral, fall down drunk, pissing in public in front of everybody.
he says he went around the corner to piss, and like you can see him just like 20 feet away, not around the
with
corner,
his pants around his ankles, and everybody's just kind of politely looking away. And he says that as he's taking a piss, he hears out of the corner of his eye.
You can actually see Jeff's tail around the corner just a little bit.
out of focus, and then he heard Gef, and then Gef recites a poem, is the thing. And
that was an important poem.
Yeah, in the poem, and then Anne says, "Oh, that's," and she says the name of the poem and the poet. I should.
It's okay, but I mean,
yeah. But then the big like reveal, the weird thing is he's like, "But here's the thing: is that like my wife died in 1931 or like 2." He's like,
it was only published 6 months later.
Yeah. He's like that. Yeah, it wasn't. That Gef was reciting a poem that wouldn't be published for another like 3 or 4 years.
Mm-hmm.
So how'd he do that? Therefore, he's real.
Well, it's all the movie is laying all these little crumbs more than it needs to, stating like, oh, there's supernatural stuff in this world that we're showing.
And so that's like the night they get there, and then the daytime they go to meet everybody at the house.
Yep.
Nandor meets the family. The family is presented in like, okay, here's the thing. Stylistically,
yeah, the cinematography.
This movie wants to be somewhere between Wes Anderson and Tim Burton.
Yeah, I can see that. The Wes Anderson for sure, because people stand in one spot, move to another. It's very staged and choreographed in an unnatural way, and then a lot of the framing is just those flat Wes Anderson lines.
Yeah, and people standing in weird poses and like holding the pose like the entire time.
Yeah, or like, oh, we're all gonna eat some little biscuits while we look up at the cave. Cut to everyone in a line, taking one bite at a time as the camera pans across.
Yeah, close up. But the thing that makes it seem kind of like, maybe not so much Tim Burton, but I almost want to say like edgier, dark Wes Anderson, is because like that shot, because of it's on the Isle of Man, and the idea is that it's all gloomy, and so like there's a lot of color saturation that comes from an overcast sky, especially greens. Like, why is Ireland the Emerald Isle? Well, it's a very green place, but it's also kind of like overcast all the time, and that somehow that overcast filtration of the sun. Like, even looking out the window right now, it's an overcast day.
That's a good point.
And I've always noticed that greens really pop during that. And so the tones of this movie, because it's a period piece, everybody's wearing like really muted tweeds and dark colors.
Very Burton-y. Good.
Yeah,
good
the house that they're in has this like ornate wood paneling. Everything's wood paneling, but also really close and tight in. It's a small house, but also this wood paneling. And so the interiors are all browns. Outsides you have grays and greens, like entirely. And so I noticed that like just gave it this kind of weird, darker palette. And then that combined with the Wes Anderson shots, it's like dark Wes Anderson.
I think it works pretty well, because the movie is odd in that it's kind of a comedy. I think I saw it listed as a dark comedy.
Yeah, or a black comedy.
Well, maybe, but it's definitely not so far a comedy that there's a joke every other line, not by any stretch, but that weird blocking, like a Wes Anderson blocking, and the unusual surrealness of the everything else with the cinematography helps with the story.
Yeah, because it is supposed to be it is a bizarre story of an idea of a talking mongoose.
Yeah.
That's weird.
And it's supposed to, like, you're supposed to be kind of chuckling through the whole thing.
Yeah.
And you and I were anyway. And I think not in a sarcastic way. Like, it actually was pretty funny a lot of the time.
I was doing some Mystery Science Theater
Were
clips.
you?
I was throwing some stuff out.
No, I mean, there was some stuff like that, but it was honestly a funnier movie than I was expecting. I mean, Simon Pegg, I shouldn't have been surprised.
So the farm consists of Jim Irving and his wife, Mrs. Irving. I think it's Beth. I can't remember. Their daughter, Vori.
Margaret, the wife, Vori, the girl, and Errol, the groundskeeper.
Yes, yeah. Errol, the groundskeeper. And they're informed that Gef apparently has been on vacation, or he's run away. They said after Harry Price was there, it spooked him away, and he didn't come back for a couple of weeks. And then he caught wind that Nandor was showing up, and so he ran away.
But he's always around.
He's always around.
So he might actually be right here, but no, he's actually gone.
But most likely he's up in the cave on the hill. We're going to go up to Gef's cave. Now, I don't remember there being a cave in the original story.
That wasn't not something that you brought up in the podcast.
But that doesn't necessarily mean it didn't happen.
Yeah,
because my research skills weren't the same back then.
Well,
129 episodes ago.
You had I think they had the opportunity to do more research for this movie. I don't know whether they took it, but they had the opportunity.
Because I mean, he did write a book about it. So I wasn't reading whole books for this show back then. So.
They make their way up to the hill. Oh, it's gonna be a climb. They get up there. Simon Pegg.
Oh, well, that was the thing. He has to, because Harry Price had to first ask permission to see Gef and to talk to Gef, and so he had to like announce that he believed in Gef.
Right.
And so they tell Nandor that he has to go to the cave and yell into it and tell Gef that he believes in him.
Nandor is so curmudgeonly through this whole thing. Yeah. He was all this way, and he's like, oh, I have to tell him I believe in him. Fine.
Yeah. And he does that.
Yeah.
Hello, Gef. I believe in you.
I believe in you. I would like to come in. They go in. They see a bunch of little trinkets and stuff.
Oh, yeah, because they say that Gef steals things like a little pack rat and brings them up there. And there's just some weird things that are in the cave.
Women's underwear was the one he brought up that I actually didn't notice.
I noticed it, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's draped over there. And then
it came up later, yeah.
Yeah, and then they leave, and they're like walking down the hill, and Jim is up ahead talking to Anne, and then Nandor kind of holds back and catches up with Errol. He's like, hey, you seem like a pretty reasonable guy. Like, you know, what's going on here? And then he said, it's like, also, were those women's undergarments in there? And he kind of laughs. Like, yeah, they were. And he's like, so what's the deal or why?
Why would Gef do that? There's no Gef.
He's like, come on. He's like, come on. You know as well as I do. He's like, there is no Gef. And that's the groundskeeper says.
Yeah. That's sort of the halfway point of the movie. I think I said that earlier, but this is really the halfway point. And there's that great thing. Nandor just stops like, what?
Well, you and I both know there ain't no Gef.
What did you just say?
Have you ever done that? Because I've never done that, where someone says something surprising while I'm walking.
Literally stops
and
you
I'm
in
so
your
surprised
tracks.
that I stop, they keep walking, and I have to yell loudly, what did you say? I've never once done that.
What did you just say?
But it's so shocking.
But it works in a movie when you have a camera on you.
Literally stopped him in his tracks.
Yeah.
What did you just say?
They get back from their walk, and Anne says she has to go to the bathroom really bad. She needs to go to the loo.
Oh, yes.
So she goes into the house, and as she enters the house, she hears a strange little weird voice having a conversation with Vori. They've already introduced earlier the idea that Vori is a ventriloquist.
That was.
They even ask her about it when they first meet her, and she goes, "Oh, it's just a skill I have."
It was so interesting to me how they do that a couple times in this, where they immediately are like, "Oh yeah, she's a ventriloquist." Like you'd think that would be like, "Oh okay, well it's not really a mongoose. This is Vori just being a ventriloquist," but they just bring it out right away.
Yeah.
So that was I thought that was kind of cool because like it immediately moves the goalposts as to what are going to be the things that convince me that Gef is real if you're telling me right now that it's really Vori doing the voice.
So she goes in, then she like forgets that she has to use the bathroom because she hears this like conversation, and then she hears like them singing a duet together.
Yeah.
Behind a closed door, and then she knocks on the door, and then like Vori comes and answers it, and is like, "Oh yeah, I was just it's just me doing my little ventriloquist thing," and then she like there's like this scene just made me feel uncomfortable. It was weird.
I was going to ask you about this scene.
It was just a weird scene. I didn't know how.
Well,
the tone was weird.
Are we meant to believe that she's doing the Gef voice? I think we are. But in the logic of the movie, she explains how to be a ventriloquist, and she just says, "Just focus on this area.
Focus all your attention onto that spot on the wall."
And then, like, you see that she throws her voice.
She's throwing her
with
voice.
her mouth closed some of the time.
Well, she has it like kind of like this a little bit.
Yeah, but some of the time she doesn't.
Yeah.
And then you literally hear Gef coming with an echo on his voice coming through a hole. And you can tell that the characters are hearing it coming from there.
Yeah.
Someday I'll find you, moonlight behind you.
True to the dream I am dreaming.
And then she's trying to
as-
teach Anne how to do it. She's like, no, just focus on the space
Yeah.
and like.
As a kid, I remember learning about, oh yeah, you can throw your voice. And like I'd never thought about it in years, and as an adult, I'm like, no, you can't. Yeah, like a little, but there's no way I could make my voice sound like it's coming from over there to you.
But through the power of audio editing, I am now on your left side.
What? Well, okay, but in real life,
Yeah, no. Especially how much projection are you getting when your mouth is like this?
yeah,
you know?
exactly. And
He-
then I can.
he
I'm
talks like
trying to
this.
throw my voice when I'm doing this.
I'm Gef the Mongoose.
Gef the Mongoose.
Yeah, I don't know. And that scene just kind of
So
ends
I mean,
with her
if we're led to believe in the logic of this movie that one could do this, then
then
I
that
don't
explains
know.
it.
I guess. But that's the thing. The movie keeps explaining and making mysterious the Gef thing in these weird,
I guess that's supposed to be the point
ways.
because we're supposed to make up. It's supposed to be ambiguous that you have to decide, right?
But we're not even leading the audience in a way that is a step by step. Because in a movie where the whole point of it is it's a mystery as to whether this is real, the way one would lead the audience through it is to be like, okay, this and this, so maybe it is real. Oh, but this and this, so maybe not. But this and this, so maybe. And in this movie, it's just kind of like maybe, yes, no, yes. Like, I didn't know what I was supposed to be thinking of it throughout most of the movie.
Yeah.
Not that that's necessarily a bad thing, but it was just kind of confusing, and it made it a little less suspenseful because it seemed like it was kind of unclear whether he was real the whole time.
Yeah. Earlier when I'm trying to remember how many days he's even there. It's not long. It's like 2 or 3 days.
I imagined it was like a week, but I might have, I don't know.
It went by pretty quick. Because the first day was up to the cave. Jeff's not here.
Yeah.
Then
Well, she talks to Vori later on that day, and then that night they go to a bar, Nandor and Anne. And Anne raises, she starts to become,
say that she might believe it.
Yeah, she's doesn't,
even though she just sat there with a girl showing her how she did it.
Yeah, and that was another thing. So Anne
but
starts
I think
to.
the idea we were supposed to get. Sorry, I think we were supposed to get the reason that Anne was so weirded out is that Anne didn't believe it was really coming from Vori. She actually thought it was like, no, there's something in the walls and she's covering.
She thinks that Vori is faking throwing her voice and lying about that, but really Gef is real. That's the only. I think you might be right because I don't know
That's
why.
That's the only reason why she would be like, no, he's definitely real.
Or she's just going based on vibes, and Simon Pegg is such a dick, and the family's so fun. She likes she likes the family more, so she wants to be on their side.
Yeah,
but that doesn't make an awful lot of sense. So yeah, maybe you're right. Maybe that's it.
The reason I was wondering which day it was is because the second day is she says, "Look, I got your book. I got the book," and he's like, "Okay." And I think he's kind of like worried about her reading it because she'll see that he's very skeptical, and that might be like, you know, some kind of. That's what I thought.
I hadn't picked up on that. But
I thought that she was going to read the book. Then she's like, "Oh, like don't believe us," and it was going to cause some kind of drama, but it didn't. Instead, that night, he gets a phone call. He's woken up by the mayor, Lord Bartender. Wakes him up.
You got a call.
You've
from
got
Gef.
a call. Yeah, and it's like from who? It's like it's from him. And then he goes and he gets a phone call from Gef, and Gef says a bunch of things to him about if you saw me, you'd be petrified. A pillar or something. That thing.
A lot of those
which
great
are actually
quotes.
Because that actually never happened with Nandor Fodor. Those are things that Harry Price heard Gef say.
Nandor Fodor in reality never heard Gef, according to him. So,
but Harry Price did, and they swapped it in this one. I think.
Yeah, but a lot of the words you hear from Gef in this movie are
real quotes.
Are quoted and attributed to Gef in real life.
But this next thing that happens on the phone call, which is another one of like, is Gef real? Is something that never happened. Is that Gef repeats to, he says, "You're never gonna see me again." And then like Nandor's like, "What? What did you just say?" And he's like,
and that was what his dad had.
Yeah,
the
and
last
he goes,
words his dad told him.
He's like, "That's the last thing your father said to you when you saw him." And he's like, "How'd you know that? How'd you know that?" And then like Gef, and then he's like, says that he'll let him see him tomorrow. He's like, "Yeah, you can see me tomorrow," and then hangs up. And so like Nandor's all shooken because he's like, how do I, how did they know?
Yeah, how did they know? And the next day you see that the wife, Margaret, got the book.
Well, she got the book the day before. It was before
or you saw that she had it already.
Yeah, she already had it. Yeah.
So
and then he's like, did you read my? He says to like Jeff, he's like, did you read my book? Kind of thing. He's like, but did he write that in his book?
Well, it implies that he did. Otherwise, because he's racking his brain, going like, how could she know that those were the last words my father told me? I can't imagine. And then later on, he's like, oh. Did you read my book?
Yeah.
So I guess he did put it in his book. So I don't know what a big deal this is.
So he shows up at the house.
So the movie gives you a good explanation, but then undercuts it. Yeah.
Yeah. So then he shows up at the house at the farm, and there's like a whole bunch of other people from the village there, because apparently this like is going to be a somewhat public showing of Jeff.
Yeah, we're going to actually get to see him, hopefully.
And so they take him into the barn, which is dark. And Nandor even asks, like, can we get some more light in here? No. And then there is, like, they pull back there's some hay bales stacked against the wall. And then...
It's like a big crate you would put a machine gun in or something.
Well, yeah, well, there's
like a little
there's hay bales, and then behind those against the wall, there is a giant chest, like a cabinet thing, a box that a person could very easily fit in, and on top of that is like a rectangular hole, and there's like fur that keeps flying past
you can
the
see
hole.
Fur coming out. Oh, there's a little bit of Jeff.
Yeah, there he is. Oh, it's a little bit.
And you can hear his voice coming from in there.
And then they
talk to him a bit. Everybody is stunned.
Yeah.
I think somebody faints or something. Then everybody rushes away, and Nandor gets upset because he's like, can't you see this is fake? And then Errol says, maybe you'd be happy if you let people believe what they want to believe.
Well, first
because Errol, the one guy who is sane and doesn't think Jeff is real.
Yeah.
Nandor is like gonna make a stink about it. He's like, I've gotta save everybody from this delusion they're all in. And he said, hey, why don't you just let people believe what they want to believe?
Yeah.
At this point in the movie, I was thinking that the arc of it would go to. It would be like The Simpsons, where Lisa is going to tell everybody about the real Jebediah Springfield.
Yeah.
Jebediah!
But she sees how happy the story makes everyone that she finally decides not to.
Great!
I thought Nandor would have unequivocal proof Jeff was fake, and he decides not to tell the people.
Yeah.
I don't know if that would have been good, but that's where I thought they were going with it at that point.
That night, Nandor gets fucking rip-roaring drunk. He fucking just gets shit-faced drunk and then decides...
He's clearly frustrated that everyone is being duped, but he's also shaken because of the dad quote, and he can't quite figure out anything, and he's like stuck. So he gets really drunk and then decides to like take an axe.
He goes up there, he goes up there. He gets Maurice to drive him up, who's also probably drunk in like a rainstorm.
Yeah.
Drive him up there. And as like before they leave, he's like, oh, and I'm borrowing your sledgehammer. He's got a big old fucking sledgehammer. And they're just like, they have this weird shot of like Nandor just sitting in the back of the car, like gritting his teeth, like cradling this fucking. It's like a very Jack Torrance.
It's
Here's
those moments
Johnny.
that made me like the movie.
Like he's in his shining moment.
Yeah.
And then gets up there and he like starts making a scene and screaming for Jeff and wakes the family up, and they're like, you need to go. And he's like, no, I just want to talk to you, Jeff. Where are you, Jeff? And he's like ready to go bash in their walls. And they're like, hey, we're calling the cops. And then he goes into the shed, and he's going to bash the Jeff box open with the sledgehammer, and then he gets fucking just knocked out by...
That's how, if you don't know how to end a scene, knock your character out.
Yeah, Errol
never
hits
do
him in the
anybody
back.
brain damage in a movie.
Yeah, taking a rifle butt to the back of the skull, the base of the skull, that ain't good.
No.
Don't do that. Actually, anytime you were ever knocked unconscious, that's not good.
No, that's not the way you want to.
Means your brain has touched your skull.
Oh, is that how that means?
I think that's what happens.
Oh God.
Yeah.
So Nandor wakes up in prison,
drunk tank.
In the drunk tank, and we have his semi-soliloquy where he's talking to Jeff, who's like somewhere right out of frame. He's maybe in the next cell. Nandor can't see.
Yeah,
him.
he hears.
And this is him at his lowest in the story circle in the adventure
hero's journey.
Yeah, his hero's journey. Nandor is at his lowest point, and he's just desperately like, I just want to believe, everybody else believes they're having fun. I don't believe because I need proof. Just do something. And he's like crying to Gef, like,
give me some
hearing
kind of
your
sign.
voice isn't enough. Scratch my arm.
Yeah, he sticks his hand because it's implied that Gef is in the cell next cell over.
I think that's probably
so he like sticks his arm around and he's like, just scratch me so I know you're real. And then Gef scratches him and gives him like 3 fucking like razor cuts.
It could have been a little, but it's for a movie, so
yeah. Oh, it is like. Yeah, I mean, it's not gushing blood, but it is.
It should have been. It wasn't very good special effects.
Well, the next time we see it, he's like.
So he's like, even at the time, I don't think they did it very well.
He cradles his little bloody gouges and is crying and says thank you.
Yeah,
now Jeff's a real fucking abuser.
Well, and now he has something.
Yeah.
And that's Nandor's whole thing is he needs a physical proof.
Yes.
But we're not quite clear if he's come around. He's not all the way on Anne's side where he believes it.
Well, then they're on the train. Well, they're on the train ride back. And
Anne's like, I quit.
Oh, yeah. Anne just tells him, like, I quit. And he's like, what, because of the mongoose? She's like, yeah, because of the mongoose, because you're a dick. And she asks
Don't quit. Well, give me a raise. Also do this. Well, and they negotiate and she stays.
Yeah, but she asks him, like whether or not he believes, and he says no. And then, the negotiation. But he does, when he thinks she's going to leave, he says that he will write her a very glowing letter of recommendation to any place because she wanted to go actually work at some university with some doctor.
Right. Yeah.
And then,
I would be lost without you.
Yeah, I'd be lost without you. I don't know what I would do. So, she stays. And then we cut to him having, like, a debrief session with Harry Price back in the same bar. And this time, Nandor's drinking water. He says he's given up drinking. He's not going to drink anymore. He had received a letter from lawyers. The Irvings apparently got lawyers and said they'll sue him if he says anything. He's like, I'm going to write the article, but I'll be fair. He's like, I'm not going to, be a wet blanket, whatever.
This is sort of the end of the movie. Let's see what Nandor has learned. And his conclusion is like, one of the things Gef told me that really rattled me was, what if there's nothing after?
Oh, that was in the jail.
What if there is nothing after this? No heaven, no hell, just nothing. No awareness of the fact that we were ever aware at all.
Well, yeah, that's a good question. What if there is nothing?
Not a good question. It's just a reworking of Pascal's wager.
Yeah, well, maybe not all the audience has heard about this. They're trying to be profound here. It's the end of the movie, Cody.
Yeah.
So, he says, well, then what is the point of anything? That's that whole, if we all die and there's nothing after death, what's the point? Well, it's what we leave behind. For you and I, Harry Price, we are writers, so we have words that we've left, and those are the things that make us unique. And the things that make the Irvings unique is this talking mongoose. So, isn't that nice for them? I wouldn't want to destroy them and make them not have a talking mongoose because it makes them special. And then we cut to a picture, a view of Gef the talking mongoose, who doesn't have any human hands or feet, which was a real bummer.
Yeah, because that's in the original story. That was
He's got little doll's hands.
Yeah, he has human hands and feet. Sometimes.
Yeah. So then, we see, I guess it's left to the audience whether or not he's real. And let's just pretend he is for the niceness of it.
Yeah, that's just a CGI mongoose standing up on a hill on the Isle of Man, watching them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So I think we should do a little philosophical breakdown of the movie.
Okay.
All right. But first, let's dig for bones. Bones, weren't they? Huh. Got a crystal skull.
I think it's mongoose skull.
You have a mongoose skull?
I don't know.
Whoa. Look at this.
It's not a mongoose. Where would I get a mongoose skull?
I don't know. Where would you get a whatever this is skull?
Owl pellet.
Oh, well, whatever then. So, oh boy, those were some bones, weren't they? Oh my gosh. Here we are.
Yes.
Let's talk about, did the movie work? Was it good?
What were things that were wrong?
Were there good parts?
The whole thing about what if there's nothing? So you might as well believe in it just because it's better.
Do you think that was the thesis of the movie?
I think that's what they were trying to be deep in a way. Like, why not? You know, it makes everybody happy. The people who did believe in it.
Yeah, all the people who believed seem to be having fulfilling lives. And then our one main character who's a skeptic is miserable the whole time and is getting drunk and mad about it. So we have, like, the skeptic perspective is also belligerent and kind of egotistical, I guess.
Yeah, but that idea of like, oh, well, what if that's that Pascal's wager,
right?
Is the idea that it was the idea was that you might as well just believe in God and try to be a good Christian because hedge your bets. You know, what's the worst that could happen?
I know more than one person who lives their life that way because they're like, well, if there is no God, then it won't matter. But if there is, boy, you're gonna be mad that I didn't believe in him. So I might as well.
Yes,
that's the.
Whereas most people...
I can't really argue with that logic, except for which God are you talking about would be the only.
My version.
You have a version of Pascal's wager, Cody?
Sort of, I guess. It's that, I mean, I don't believe in any religion or sky daddies or whatnot. And for me, it's more of like, okay, well, I'm just going to be a good person based on objectively, this is a good thing to do. You know, I don't need some fear of punishment. And it's like, and if that works out and I die and there's like an afterlife that seems pretty chill and I ended up there, then I must have done something right to get there. So, all right, if there's a hell and I end up going to a hell or I must have done something to end up there. So I guess I can't really fucking complain. I
would still complain.
But this is the thing is, if nothing happens, what if nothing, as Gef the Mongoose says? If there's nothing isn't a feeling. It's not like you are in a black space aware. You just stop.
I think a lot of people, when they think about death, if there is nothing, they're scared of the idea of being stuck in blackness forever.
And it's like, well, what was it like before you were born?
Yes, exactly. So if you're not there to experience the nothingness,
it can't complain. So either way, you can't complain.
That doesn't bother me. I mean, other people just are still unsettled by the idea. Now that I'm conscious, it's scary to imagine ever turning off. But I mean, it's a good question. The movie presents it in a way where it's like, well, what if there is nothing after death? It's what we leave behind. Yeah. And so it seems like Nandor is suggesting that he appreciates the uniqueness of the family, whereas he didn't before, because with his new perspective, nothing is permanent and it's all going to go away. So let's just enjoy and celebrate what makes us unique, I guess.
Well, he says to Harry Price this whole thing about like, why do we write?
Yeah.
And he's like, oh, well, because you want it to be read by somebody. And he's like, it's not just that. It's that you want to be remembered, right? And he's like, so you and I, we write. And he's like, this family.
What will they be remembered for?
Yeah, he's like, they don't write. They have Gef. And that's their thing.
Yeah. Which is a nice sentiment. I don't know how else I would have ended the movie, but I guess if I were to have done the movie, I would have done it differently
their final
myself.
shot is that they show Nandor standing over his father's grave, but seeing as that would be in like Ukraine, Hungary in 1937. I don't think he's going there.
Okay. I mean, if we want to go there, we could pick apart a million things in this movie, but fair enough.
It's
a dramatic thing.
At one point, they say that the Irving family is incredibly successful, so there's no financial reason for them to be doing this. That's not true. In reality, they were struggling financially. He had been a somewhat successful businessman on the mainland, and then he moved out and bought this farm, and it was not doing well. There's kind of like nods to this in the movie that might be tongue-in-cheek, because when they're like driving, he takes them for a drive.
It's a really rough road.
And he takes them on a drive around the property, and he's pointing out things that like aren't there seemingly. Yeah. He's like, oh, and
this is a great place for an orchard.
Yeah.
There's no trees.
No trees. Like, and can you see the pears are really coming in good or whatever? And they look out there, it's like, there's nothing. And the joke is like, oh no, that's just the weird Isle of Man. You know, this weird terrain. But really, it's like, no, he really was struggling.
Yeah.
And that was the real Nandor Fodor's conclusion, was that because he was struggling, he was under a bunch of stress, and then that kind of created Gef the Mongoose.
Yes. And the big thing in this movie is they anticipate what an audience member might think, like, oh, well, they're just doing it for the money. And while in reality that seems to maybe have been the case, they dispel that in the movie so that it can remain more ambiguous than the real story of Gef the Mongoose.
They're well off because they actually have like a hired groundskeeper.
Yeah, and the house is nice.
Yeah.
That was the first thing I noticed when we got there in the movie. I'm like, this looks really good. They're supposed to be in poverty. But if they look too desperate, then it would give them too much motivation to make Gef.
But that also, now I think about it, that also could have been seen illustrating like how proud they are that they're still using all their fine china. They haven't sold it off, all the good stuff they had.
Yeah, that's true.
But they also are able, like I said, to hire a guy.
They should have made it a little dingier if they wanted to give the impression that these guys, even while proud and presenting, are on hard times. I don't think we saw that enough.
Yeah.
For that to work. Not to say the filmmakers didn't mean for us to think that, but if they were trying to do that, it didn't work.
They talked about the rabbits getting strangled, which was a thing.
That was a thing.
That Gef supposedly strangled rabbits and brought them to the Irving family. But then they said that it had become a problem and that the other people on the island were getting upset that all the rabbits were getting killed. But really, there actually had been mongooses imported to the Isle of Man.
I've never heard of a community being upset by a lack of rabbits. I don't think that happens. No one's like, oh, we need more rabbits.
Yeah, but that was a thing that was interesting, was there actually had been several years earlier a farmer on the island who had tried to bring mongooses in to control the rabbit population. So I don't think the farmers would ever complain about rabbits leaving holes that their sheep could step in and twist ankles and stuff, because it's sheep farming. Other
things.
They never had a phone. They didn't have a phone.
Yeah, in the movie, Gef is calling everybody in town on the phone. That's what makes the crowd arrive. They're all like, Gef called me. Gef called me.
Yeah.
And Gef has all of this private information. In reality, we're led to believe that the daughter overheard people.
Yeah. And little pitchers have big ears, as they say.
Exactly. Although they don't really explain that as a possibility in the movie, I don't think. And Gef never called anybody on the phone in real life.
No, they didn't, because they didn't have a phone at Cashin's Gap. They didn't even have electricity or radio.
Right, which they had all of, maybe not the radio, but everything else in the movie.
They had they had phonographs they would listen to. Okay. And I think she was listening to that in the movie. Yeah, so a lot of liberties taken with the actual story.
Yes, well, and with the characters. I mean, Nandor is different, as we brought up in the beginning of this. Anne is older. I think they probably cast her older so that they could have that scene. Maybe it was harder to have I feel like you could get a younger girl actress that could have done that scene. Yeah. So I'm not quite sure why they cast her older.
Harry Price at the time only would have been like 56.
Right.
Instead, Christopher Lloyd is.
But you know what?
Christopher Lloyd. Yeah, Christopher Lloyd is great.
He didn't need to fake an English accent or anything. It didn't matter.
Yeah, no, he didn't do any accent.
I'm glad he didn't bother. He has a way of speaking that it seems like he's having a hard time talking all the time. Just Christopher Lloyd. I wouldn't ask him to do an accent on top of that.
Yeah.
But yeah, love him. It was great to see him in a movie again. It's been a while.
Neil Gaiman just doing Neil Gaiman, but kind of wispy.
Well, he kind of does it like this. I liked your Gef impression in the first episode.
Oh!
You have a nice Gef impression.
I'm a freak. I have hands, feet, and hands. I am the Holy Ghost.
That's it.
It's me doing an impression of the Mighty Monarch.
Oh, okay.
Early season Monarch from Venture Brothers.
There you go.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see what else big picture about the movie in general. Well, we haven't actually did you like the movie, Cody? Yeah, me too.
Yeah,
me
no,
too.
yeah, it's
it wasn't as bad as I thought. Based
like,
on the Discord, I was like, oh, well, this is going to be a real, but
it doesn't have, I think it's only got like a 46 Rotten Tomato.
That sounds about right. It wasn't great, and I don't know that it all came together, but it was kind of entertaining, and it led me along, even though I knew the Gef story already. If I'd gone in without any of that, I think would have kept going, but I'm not sure I would have been satisfied at the end. And I don't know that I was.
The thing that struck me about it, and I think I mentioned this to you as we were watching it, because of the way they were framing people up.
Yeah.
And going kind of that Wes Anderson thing, I said, I feel like this was written to be a stage play.
Yeah, you did mention that. I can see that.
Small cast. Working. There's only like
you could
6 or 7 people.
Yeah, and you could
a lot of it is all just it's almost every scene is just people having a conversation.
Yeah, so it's either in a bar, in their house, outside.
But
you could
always
do that.
It's always conversation. You don't see there's nothing wasted. It's always people talking expositionally.
I think I actually kind of liked that about the movie. It didn't shy away from it just being people talking a lot. And those kinds of movies I don't find boring, as long as the writing's good. And this writing was pretty okay. It was pretty. It was funny, and it kept going. It could have been more. They could have done a better job not acting like they're being profound when they're really kind of not being profound.
Well, here's the thing about the Gef the Mongoose story.
Yeah, how would you have done it?
It's something that when you hear the story on its surface, like, wow, that should be a movie. No, it shouldn't. Because
this is what you get. It's unsatisfying.
Exactly.
Nothing happens.
Exactly. It is. Because the actual story as it happened, like the takeaway from the real Nandor Fodor story is when he leaves, his response, his summation was, "I didn't see the mongoose. I'd never heard the mongoose, but everyone says it's there, and so I have to believe them because they say it's there." And that's it. And
which actually ties perfectly with the first scene in the movie where he's like, hey, they said they see it. I don't see it. So who's to say? I'm curious about that.
Now, the interesting thing about that...
I'm surprised they didn't lean into that, landing on that more, because that's where the movie starts.
Because what he's actually espousing there is a key thing of the anthropologist's toolkit, the cultural anthropologist. It's almost like he's arguing for a cultural... or a paranormal relativity. So there's moral relativism, which is bad, right? That's nothing is good, nothing's bad. It's up to whoever. You just make it up. It's fucking chaos.
I guess so. You come, yeah. No.
I am of the viewpoint that there are certain things that objectively, like, no, that like cross culturally, that's a bad thing.
Oh, I agree. But then there are certain other things that
that's different
culture to culture.
But that's different than cultural relativism.
Oh, I see this distinction.
So one is a philosophical thing about morality, ethics.
Yeah, you're saying that is universal.
In a cultural relativist setting, you have to look at things that certain people do in a culture, the traditions or actions, holistically in its context, in its place. And at face value, if you want to understand it. So it's like, hey man, they say that if you go beyond that mountain, that's the land of the dead. They don't go there. And you're like, okay, well, that's where the land of the dead is then. Because for them, that is how their entire world works.
Well, and that feels good to me as a...
It doesn't mean that there really is a land of the dead over there.
Yeah, but to go along with a culture's things, even if you don't personally believe it, you don't want to just tear it down because you don't think that's you imposing your worldview on them.
Yes, exactly.
And so maybe
prime directives.
It just occurred to me in this whole movie, Nandor Fodor seems like kind of a jerk for not believing anyone in this town.
Yeah.
But what's the difference between this town having this fun little superstitious myth versus what if they were from some other culture and this was more of a longer traditional history thing? Suddenly that's like a religion, and you definitely would look like a dick for giving them a hard time about their religion.
And the fact that you said if it was part of a longer cultural thing, as we talked about in our first episode of this podcast, there really is on the Isle of Man this long history of house spirits.
Oh right, I forgot about that.
Like almost like the brownie or the
kappas. No, those aren't house spirits.
No, those are oni with little dishes in their heads.
Oh yeah, those guys.
Yeah, they're fuckable according to Michael Swaim.
Oh, that's right.
Yes.
Well, because of the dishes.
Anyway, point that I'm trying to make. What was I trying to say? God damn it, you got me. Oh, that they had a history.
There's a longer, older tradition
all of that to
of
say
that
is that
on the Isle of Man.
that's kind of what the point could have been of the movie, and it kind of...
I think they were walking around it, but they didn't say it explicitly enough, because that's kind of a nice idea.
Is that
I like it a little more.
At the end of the day, it's like, and I think that's also what Errol was trying to tell him, was like, are they hurting anybody?
Yes.
You know, they're not seemingly taking money from the townspeople.
When the one other guy who also doesn't believe in Gef in the whole movie is saying, hey, I don't have a problem with it, let them believe what they want.
Yeah.
He's much more, live and let live.
And that also was the original point of the household spirit, was that there's certain things that happen that you have no control over. And rather than blaming each other, you just say, oh, they did that. So you have a small household, husband and wife, in financial straits. They're probably arguing about shit all the time. And it's so much easier to just be like, no, it's Gef. Gef did it. You know, and it diffuses the situation. It relieves stress.
Who farted? It was the dog. Okay, good. We don't have to blame anybody.
Yeah, exactly. Because if it came out of you got to go to the fucking doctor. I think I'm kind of losing the thread here.
No, not at all. Your whole... I see what you're saying.
But what I'm saying is, to make a movie out of it...
Yeah.
There is no stakes. There is no... especially when the actual part of the story they chose to focus on, that guy collected no evidence. He saw nothing. He heard nothing. Harry Price
how do you make that a movie? I guess if I were to have made this movie, because it is an interesting story, I would have had the Harry Price... We see a lot of flashbacks. You could almost edit it so that you have whole Harry Price scenes if you want.
There were flashbacks we didn't get that I expected to get.
Yeah, so...
Gef tells his backstory.
I think,
We didn't see his backstory of being a mongoose, an African mongoose, born in India.
He's been all around the world.
And then he's been all over the world. For a while, he traveled with, this... Indian mystic.
Oh, that was
right.
Yeah.
And then he ended up in Egypt.
Yeah.
He'd been all over the place. And so we could have seen, if they were so dead serious on making it so that, he actually did talk to Nandor, which he didn't.
He could have told him about
why didn't we have an interview with a mongoose? Interview with a vampire kind of stuff, right? If you're just going to make shit up.
Interview with the mongoose.
You would just have Nandor talking to a hole in the wall while a girl stares there who is clearly moving her mouth is telling him the whole life story of Gef.
Well, and then you could have had a punchy ending, because you could have had an interview with the vampire ending, where at the very end,
Jeff's driving the car.
It's kind of the end of Amadeus too. It's like he's been telling him the story all night, and Nandor's just exhausted, and it's like dawn. He's like, I can't believe he's just shaken, and then Gef is like, all right, you're next. Eats him, takes over his body, goes off in a car. That's how you end it. Now he's in Nandor Fodor, and it's the story of the talking human. Doesn't really work.
I really hadn't thought about him becoming the next Gef the Mongoose. I just thought that at the end of the story...
Now that I say it, I'm taking it back. I don't think that's how it should have gone.
He would have had the whole interview, and it's the next morning he's like, wow, that's a crazy story, but I still don't really believe. And then Gef is like, oh yeah? You want one more one? Want one more for the road there, buddy? The last thing your father said to you
there you go.
You will never see me again. Mic drop. And he's like, no!
Cut my arm!
Yeah.
He holds it into the hole. Nothing. End of the movie.
I don't know. Like I said, you know, it doesn't really seem like you could maybe make a play out of it. Maybe write a book. Wouldn't make a movie, but a podcast episode.
That is the best possible media
to
for
tell the story. Yes. It's been done.
It's twice now. We just told a story, and then we told a story about telling this
about somebody else telling the story.
Yeah,
worse than us.
There you go.
Yeah, I know. I'm not going to say who, but I heard recently a very big YouTube channel released a video about Gef the Mongoose.
Oh.
And over on the Discord, people were already saying, yeah, at least Haunted did it better.
So, nice.
Shots fired!
At whoever that Cody's leaving vague. That's been the episode. Should we do a wrap-up? We have the least haunted monster squadron. Whose names will appear as Cody reads them, because this is a visual medium.
Yes, visual medium. Ooh. Our Monster Squadron patron producers, or squatties. If you want to be a squatty, you can go to Least Haunted, or patreon.com/Least Haunted, and join up and support us there. And yeah, we say their name every time, which are, or who are, these are they. Are these they?
Are these they? Are these them? Who what?
That's a Venture Brothers quote. You got me saying that. It is a quote, but yeah. Are these they? Maybe I should read them as Gef the Mongoose.
Yes. Oh, I think definitely. Yeah, make sure you kind of don't move your lips too much.
Oh, I don't know if I can do that.
Oh, you did it perfect. Just do that. Yeah, you got it. You got it.
The Monster Squadron. Travis Alexander. The Barbarian. Rachel Krieger. Tom Dahl. Justin Duckham. Kelly Flynn. Gunnar Franks. Carla Harrington. Havelock. Christina Hurley. New Jared. Ken with 2 N's. TJ Levenhagen. Alicia Overton. Jordan Ramey. A different one, but the same one. Blue Roan. Setifan. And Tatum.
Very nice, Jeff.
Thank you very much, Monster Squadron.
Thank you.
What else?
I think that's about it. Hope you enjoyed this and it worked as a visual thing, or it worked as an audio thing if you're not watching it. Because really, if you are only listening, but and not watching it, you just miss the fact that we're kind of talking to each other and looking at the camera, and
occasionally
we have occasional cuts to the film. But yeah, it'll be interesting to get feedback as to whether this worked. It's an awful lot more work to film it.
Yes.
But maybe it's worth it. Let us know if this was something you'd like to see again.
All right. And with that out of the way, we will say what we always say.
What? What do we always say, Cody?
Until next time. Oh. Continuity error. That guy just appeared out of nowhere.
They were behind me the whole time.
As we always say, until next time, the only thing that's haunted
is you.
Say goodbye.
I am very excited to make your acquaintance. How was that?
That's brilliant.
Really good.
Brilliant, yeah.
The Least Haunted podcast is recorded before a dead studio audience and is a presentation of Sequoia Productions, LLC.